The heads of states of economic community of West African states is set to convene to discuss the next steps in the aftermath of the coup in Niger. The summit takes place under the chairmanship of Nigeria, the regional superpower and advocate of a hard line against the coup. The ECOWAS bloc gave Niger's military rulers until last Sunday to reinstate President Mohamed Bazoum or face potential use of force. But the coup leaders remained defiant and the ultimatum passed without action. On Tuesday, a bid to send a joint team of ECOWAS, UN and African Union representatives to the capital was rejected by the coup leaders. But in latest reports, the junta leaders have now apparently met with Nigerian envoys. The question is, what options is the regional bloc left with? To discuss this, we have with us Mr. Edwin Naidu, political commentator from South Africa. Sir, thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Good to talk to you.
Now, sir, what can we expect from the upcoming ECOWAS summit, and is there any hope of restoring democratic rule in Niger? As I mentioned in reports that are just coming in, apparently the junta, the coup leaders, they've met with Nigerian envoys. Do you think there can be any sort of a breakthrough here?
I think that's a very positive step that they've already had the meeting, but from reports, one is getting the sense that ECOWAS itself is very divided. For example, you had Burkina Faso and Mali saying they would support, what's happening in Niger and make sure that they're on the side of the people of Niger. So I think you've got 15 members. All 15 are not going to say, let's go in and, try and restore democracy. You're going to find people who say you're not going to add fuel to the fire by, attempting to try and resolve it through violent means, so to speak. But, of course, it's a step in the right direction that they've had the meeting. But it does seem like the former general that's now leading Niger, they're very determined to do what they want to do. For example, when ECOWAS landed in the country immediately after, they were not allowed to leave the airport. The UN has not been meeting. So the meeting with Nigeria is definitely positive, but it's by no means a clear indication that, it's peace has come and, democracy is going to be respected.
Right.
I think one needs get a sense of where to from here.
Right, sir. Now, just for more clarity on this, that being said, what sort of an approach do you think the bloc should adopt now to ensure stability, not just in Niger, but the wider region as well?
I think the one thing that I'm not seeing or trying to understand is what led to this. Because, everyone talks about democracy. Yes, it's all well and good. But what caused this to happen? Why was the president ousted? Sometimes presidents become dictators or behave in a way that's undemocratic, resulting in actions like this. And I think one needs to understand why this happened. Perhaps the coup leader will talk. He's very apparently very close to the president, or was close to the president. The man who protected the president is basically leading the country. And I think the aim is to find out where to and why. What happened. And we're not saying you're justifying it, but reasons for where we are now and how to deal with it. And I think negotiations is the only way. You can't be, fighting over it. The time for peace is here, and definitely negotiations. So let's hope the coup leaders are prepared to negotiate as they seem to from the meeting with Nigeria.
Right, Sana. There's an undeniable Russian imprint as well that we're seeing in these rallies that we've seen in the past few days. Could you tell us about the Russia connect here?
Well, Russia and China seem, perceived to be waiting in the wings to support and help Niger in whatever path that has been chosen. I think you know that Niger is the 7th largest producer of uranium, and France was its biggest importer. So there's the economic considerations. I think you find that Russia and China are always in the mix in terms of African countries that it can perceive to be helping and being there to find ways to ingratiate itself. So I think we know that this is a former French colony, and lately there've been, when the coup happened, in fact, the French embassy was attacked, and stoned, windows broken, etc. So there's been a sort of tiredness of of being sort of a former colony, and I don't think they really cut the apron strings with France importing the uranium, etc. So definitely Russia and China, I would say, very opportunist and waiting in the wings to see how they can, pick up the pieces and look at being sort of the savior of Niger.
Now, right, so also as per reports, what we're hearing is that the coup leaders have formed a new government decree. What is your take on this? What can we expect going forward?
I think you can't have a new government without a democratically chosen leadership. The coup leaders won't be recognized. Already you find that the ECOWAS states haven't recognized them. There's been sort of a number of sanctions threatened. I think it's illegitimate as a government, whatever you form, because you can't have the president sitting in prison while you saying that we are a new leadership. So definitely, it's the pity because Niger is, very poor. Agriculture is the main contributor to GDP. There's been lots of famine, drought, so people are struggling to survive. So I'm not sure if you're going to find that revolt against politicians as we've seen. So I think it's early to say how they're going to be accepted, but certainly the reports are that no one's going to say, yes, we welcome you and we accept you as a government because you were not chosen by the people, but you appointed yourself.
All right, sir. Now, the coup leaders in Niger, they've also accused French forces of freeing captured terrorists and breaching a ban on the country's airspace in an attempt to destabilize Niger. Seems the rift is only increasing here. What can you tell us about this?
Well, definitely, it does seem the pressure is increasing. Airspace, the number of flights have been cancelled, or it's going to cause delays in the West African region. You're finding that there'll be economic repercussions. The people themselves in Niger will feel it. You know, as you become closed off, and as nations that used to support you don't. And I think the one thing that's still common is that, or prevalent, is the United Nations is continuing to try and negotiate, but also assist people or refugees that have come out of Niger. And I think right now it's early days, but this happened on the 26th of July. You can't allow it to continue. There should be something happening. I'm hoping that we get a better sense from General Shiani, who's in charge effectively, that there would be a way to say this is the way forward. This is how we're going to deal with it. Explain to the nation why. There was a televised address on the 28th of July. It's been slightly quiet after that. General Shiani declared himself the head of the National Council for the Safeguard of the Homeland. That's what they call it. And I think we really hope for some intervention, but it has to be negotiated and peaceful.
Well, Mr. Edwin Naidu, thank you so much for joining us on WION with your insights on this.
A pleasure. Good talking to you. Thank you.